Putra sebulan ibu biku putra sebulan ibu biku upaya Isargadu aku dapat ingat dikau supaya Isargadu aku dapat ingat dikau demikianlah mata diriku dan dirimu akan dihiburkan. Demikianlah mata diriku dan dirimu akan dihiburkan.
Allah Akbar, friends. Var mıdır Tanrı'dan başka sorunları çözen? Söyle, odur Tanrı, Subhandır Tanrı. Herkes onun kuludur ve herkes onun buyruğu ile ayakta durur.
在上帝的眼中，每个人都是平等的。在他正义和平等的王国里，并无任何的区别或优劣。上帝不曾区分人类，这些区分源于人们自己。因此，他们若是违反上帝的计划和目的，他们将沦于错误和虚无。人类外表和肤色的差异是依据造物者的智慧，有其神圣的目的。人类家庭的差异应是爱与和谐之音，如音乐应有不同的音符而成为一首完美的旋律。阿卜杜巴哈。
O thou incomparable God, O thou lords of the kingdom, these souls are the heavenly army. Assist them, and with the cohorts of the supreme concourse, make them victorious so that each one of them may become like unto a regiment and conquer this country through the loving of God and illumination of divine teaching. O God, be thou their supporter and their helper, and in the wilderness, the mountain, the valley, the forest, the praise, and the sea, be thou their confidant, so that they may cry out through the power of the kingdom and the breath of the Holy Spirit. Verily thou art the powerful, the mighty, and the omnipotent, and thou art the wise, the hearing, and the seeing. Abdul Baha.
Dearest friends, I wanted to welcome you for joining us tonight. You have always been so faithful to this space, and I started around 6:45, and I see you joining us one after the other one, and it is so very beautiful. Friends from all over the world. After all, this is but just one country. Tonight is a very special night for different reasons. First of all, I apologize for my picture. I've had computer problems, but the fact that I can see you and you can hear me, I think for the time being is okay. I wanted you to know that, of course, for the friends who have joined us for the first time, tonight is the evening of the declaration of the Bab, and Vahid will talk about it before he starts his formal program. But it's a very special and powerful evening. I'm glad that we're all together. And also, I wanted to tell you that the speaker tonight is a second cousin of mine that I have never met in my life. I would give you this very short story. I had an uncle who went to see the Guardian of the Faith in Haifa, I think 1951, and I never had a chance to see him. And after a while, we realized that he never came back to Iran, as the Guardian asked him to go pioneering. He never came back to Iran, although at the time he was a real estate broker. The situation of real estate was booming gradually in Iran, and everyone was shocked that he left everything and went to different countries, couldn't get a permission to stay and visa to stay. Of course, Vahid will tell you more about him at the end of the session when we have devotionals. But in our family, it was always a nostalgic feeling. What was it that Amu Mansour, Uncle Mansour, felt and saw when he was at the presence of the Guardian that made him leave everything? I hope that tonight we can do justice at the end to have a prayer meeting in his name. I am honored to introduce to you my second cousin, Vahid Masrour. I won't call him Mr. Vahid Masrour because he is much younger than me. So Vahid John, accept this informal way. He is a world citizen who has lived in 8 different countries, and currently he's residing in Argentina. He is working in organizational psychology, social action, and more recently in, I don't know how to pronounce it, education and technology, edtech, correct? In his volunteering time, he is a Wikipedia volunteer and facilitator of community building efforts. These people are the legacy of a man who sacrificed many things for the faith. Thank you for joining us, Vahid Jan. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Farouz, or Aunt Farouz is probably the correct title. It's a privilege for me to be able to share with you tonight through this virtual meeting. I've had the opportunity to benefit from these great meetings in different talks. I remember particularly Mr. Ardazi's talk on artificial intelligence, which I thought was his approach was very novel and helped us really reflect about what is important for human beings. And last week's talk about human consciousness, I thought was also very interesting in terms of helping us realize how special human beings are, and this phenomena that we experience consciousness in this material world, I think is a great introduction for the topic I wanted to share with you, which is just an approximation, a reflection, I hope a shared participative reflection on the idea of what the purpose of being human can be. But before this, Ferouz wanted to perhaps help us remember that Baha'is all over the world really are celebrating an event that happened back in 1844, which was the Bab's Declaration. And she asked me to perhaps share a few words around that celebration. And actually, it's interesting that she brought my grandfather and his meeting with the Guardian, because in one way at least, I think that my grandfather meeting with the Guardian, in some way, very small, reflects what happened on 1844, when perhaps the most important conversation of our age happened, when a mullah, a priest from Islam, from Shia Islam, arrived at a city in Iran, and he was welcomed by a complete stranger, inviting him to have tea at their house, right? And this was around sundown. And it's so interesting that this mullah had a very clear purpose in his life. He had chosen and studied and decided that his purpose was to find the promised one, with capital P, capital O, the promised one of Shia Islam, that was ready to appear. He had been training with a specific group within Shia Islam that had been really focused on the prophecies and the promises of the promised one showing up. And he was so convinced that this was the time that he held a special fast and started traveling, because his master had told him that now was the time to find this promised land. And so we're in the middle of 19th century Persia. He wasn't traveling by plane. He wasn't traveling by train. You know, it was mostly walking. If he was lucky, maybe horse rides. But he really had to venture around, and he had some signals of what the promised one, what kind of criteria he should use to discover who the promised one was. And we know that when he was inspired to arrive at the city of Shiraz, he thought that maybe there was something special about that city that would be helpful in his search, his quest to find the promised one. And so he happens upon this merchant, a merchant that was perhaps somewhat special because he was a descendant of the prophet, Sayyid, of the prophet Muhammad. But, you know, other than that, maybe it was, I mean, this was a young person, 20 some years, a merchant, you know, probably not very highly relevant, or I'm guessing, and these are my words, not Mullah Hussein's words, that, you know, it was just a formal courtesy, you know, okay, I'll be nice to him, I'll have his tea, and then I'll be on my way seeking the promised one, which would be something very special, right? And from the description that we have from hearsay relating or writing down Mullah Hussein's description of the event, we know that it started very nicely. The Bab was very hospitable. We know that there was a very formal courtesy of cleaning his feet, sharing tea together, and then having a discussion. So why are you traveling? How come you arrived at Shiraz? You know, a very polite conversation. And then things started to get more, perhaps hairy would be the word, when the Bab asked him, so what are you doing here? and Mullah Hussein tells him, well, you know, I'm part of this group, and I'm looking for the promised one of Shia Islam. And the Bab says, oh, tell me more about this. This is interesting. And then the conversation goes on, and the Bab asks him, so perhaps you have a list of criteria to match to figure out who the promised one is. And, you know, Mullah Hussein is like, okay, well, I'll tell you. So there are these criteria. He should be young. He shouldn't smoke. He should be physically perfect. No visible issues. He should be a descendant of the prophets. And then his host asked him, well, don't I meet all those criteria you're seeking, you're asking for? And that stops a little bit Mullah Hussein on his heels, and he's like, well, you do, but that's not, we're just having tea together, and this is a friendly conversation. You know, I'm guessing again what was going on in his mind. You know, we're having a nice, polite conversation. Maybe now you're pushing your luck a little bit too far, you know, we've just met here. And so then, you know, further conversation ensues, and at some point, Mullah Hussein realizes that the person he's meeting is really not just a regular merchant, not just another entitled descendant of the prophet. This is someone that has something very different about him, right? But even through the conversation, from when we read Mullah Hussein's description of the event, we know that Mullah Hussein had his doubts. Is this really it? Am I really meeting the promised one? Is this what was meant to happen in this town in the middle of Persia? You know, there are all these questions racing through his mind, and eventually the revelation of the Bab is so strong when he goes into explaining and revealing the verses that explain the Surah of Joseph, that by the end of the night, so it started just as, you know, let's have tea together, but by the end of the night, Mullah Hussein is confirmed, truly believes that he has found the promised one. And so he's so perturbed by all this that the Bab specifically has to tell him, keep it quiet for now. I need to find my next disciples or believers, because this is the way the faith has to grow. And so this is the event, the specific event we are celebrating, when the Bab for the first time announces publicly that he is the promised one, and that somebody acknowledges this reality and acknowledges that a new manifestation of God has appeared and has declared himself on earth. So this is a short, I hope, helpful presentation of the event we are celebrating tonight, this conversation that sparked an entire movement, an entire religion, and really ushered in a new age for humanity, the age of fulfillment, after spending several thousands of years in the era of prophecy, of announcement. We, humanity now can move into the fulfillment of those promises, thanks to the Bab's revelation and the appearance of this new manifestation in human reality. So I hope that this perhaps inspires us to think about the importance of having conversations, a conversation that might start over having tea together, and then going into the full acknowledgement of the manifestation of God in our lives. I don't know if perhaps there were other comments or things we wanted to mention around the declaration of the Bab, Farouz?
Thank you so much, Vahid. Please go ahead with your formal talk, and thank you for accepting to talk about this. I appreciate it. Thank
Fantastic. So if you'll allow me, I will share my screen right now so that we can do this reflection together. My intention is really for us to have a participating encounter. And so we are just around 30 participants, I think, around 40. So hopefully there is time for each one of us to say something short over the duration of the talk, something brief, so that we give a chance to as many people want to participate during the conversation. Essentially, what I'll be doing is sharing a series of quotations. I'm sure that most of the quotations you are already familiar with, but we'll look at them in the context of seeking purpose in our lives. And I really hope that these quotations and the conversation, the consultation we'll have, will inspire you to have conversations with other people about what the purpose of being human can be, right? And we know that from philosophy, the question of the purpose of being human is a very big question. It's an important question in philosophy, and it's also a hotly debated question. For some people, we could say that there's little purpose other than satisfying our central nervous system, our brain, and this is it. This is the sole purpose of the human being. But of course, from a spiritual, from a religious perspective, we believe in greater realities. And then we want to open the conversation to what that purpose can be, what forms it can be. So we'll go from perhaps the most spiritual purpose that we can inspire ourselves with to something I hope that will be much more practical and that we can carry out in our daily lives. That I hope will be the trip we'll be taking in this hour of a conversation. So allow me to start with a quotation that I think you're all familiar with. I would really expect that you're all familiar with. I don't know if we have a volunteer that could read it, please.
I can.
Thank you.
I bear witness, O my God, that thou hast created me to know thee and to worship thee.
Fantastic. Thank you. So this is, of course, taken from the short obligatory prayer. And here there is one definition. In the writings, we will find many others, but this is one definition of the purpose of being human, right? And so this purpose has two aspects to it. One is to know God. He has created so that we can know him. And the other one is to worship God. And worship, we can think in different ways. I propose that maybe for tonight, we think of worshiping as having a loving relationship with. And so worshiping can take the form of having a loving relationship with God and strengthening that bond of love to God. So actually, it's interesting to me that a Baha'i psychiatrist called Pezeshkian, out from Germany, Nosrat Pezeshkian, he says that from this quote, we can derive two basic capabilities that all human beings have, at least potentially. They have the potential. One is to know God and know reality, therefore. And the other one is to establish loving relationships with God and with his creation as part of that representation of God. And so those two capabilities are capabilities that all human beings have in some states of development, right? Maybe it's something that is visible. Maybe it's something that's more of a seed. Maybe it's a full-grown tree in different people. But those two capabilities are there, and we can use them and grow them during our lives, right? So then perhaps the questions become, what are we doing, each one of us, to know more about God, to know God more? And what are we doing to worship, establishing a loving relationship with God and with his creation, therefore? And those, of course, are personal questions, but I would invite you to think of those as two ways to look at two facets, two aspects of our lives, the two sides of the coin, if you will, that can be one way to look at the purpose of being human. We are trying to know more about reality with a capital R, God and his creation, and we are trying to establish a loving relationship with God and therefore, by extension, with his creation. And of course, this is something that apparently we have a number of physical years to grow and develop in ourselves. But it's a starting point to think about what is the purpose of being human. Perhaps there are a couple of comments on this quotation and its implications.
One was to pray every day.
Absolutely. So that would be one form of worship, is expressing out loud this love that we have. And of course, we have a special revealed text that we can use to convey that feeling of love. Absolutely. Any thoughts on knowing God, perhaps?
Knowing God is reading the sacred books, listening to the teachings of one's faith.
Fantastic. So we know that reading the Word of God is definitely one way to approach the reading the Revelation is one way to approach God, and we know that God is unknowable, but at the same time, in this very prayer, he asks us to know him. So there is some kind of a paradox going on, right? He's unknowable. He can't be known, but at the same time, he created us so that we know him. So one way to do this is through his writings, and in practical terms, the writings of the manifestation. And we are so lucky that we know that knowing God or knowing the manifestation of God is the same thing. This was clearly explained by Baha'u'llah. So one practical way to implement knowing God is knowing more about the manifestation and, of course, the teachings of the manifestation of God.
Yes.
Fantastic. So let me move to another quotation, which I think is very interesting. This one comes from Paris Talks, where Abdul Baha was talking to an audience of Westerners, of course. And the beginning of this quote, I'm sure everybody knows. So I'm wondering if somebody could read this one out loud, please.
I'll
May
do
I
it.
again?
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. Okay, do it.
You go ahead. Well, okay. Joy gives us wings. In times of joy, our strength is more vital, our intellect keener, and our understanding less clouded. We seem better able to cope with the world and to find our sphere of usefulness. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I think we're all familiar with the joy gives us wings part. This is something that we have put in songs even, and it's a quotation that I think is pretty easy to relate to, because truly when we have this feeling of joy, the world looks much better and we feel much more active in the world for sure. But the thing that caught my attention in this quotation is the idea that we should and we can find our sphere of usefulness. So I'm wondering what sphere of usefulness can mean to each one of us. What does finding our sphere of usefulness, and it's different from our comfort sphere, probably, right? We all have a comfort zone, a zone where we're comfortable in, things that we do daily that are normal to us and we're familiar with, but perhaps the sphere of usefulness is different from the comfort zone. And so what could that mean?
I think it might mean that we find each one of us finds our way to serve mankind.
Absolutely.
Our service. There's many ways to serve mankind.
Yes, and for each one of us, maybe there are also many ways to serve, not just one. Maybe we really enjoy doing one, but maybe there are several ways, right?
Of course.
Awesome. So this is something that I think each one of us can check perhaps weekly or monthly, you know, am I finding my sphere of usefulness? And is my sphere of usefulness my immediate family, the family that lives under the same roof, perhaps? Is it a wider community? Is it a specific subgroup of the community that I serve that I can serve particularly well? Is it the people that I'm engaging with online? Our sphere of usefulness could take many different dimensions, right? But to seek out what this sphere of usefulness is and perhaps figuring out how to grow this sphere of usefulness is something that can be more of a what the youth nowadays would call a challenge, you know. The idea that you know, is my sphere of usefulness where it should be at, or can I do more? Are there new ways I haven't tried? Is there something that I could do to grow it systematically, slowly, but systematically grow the sphere of usefulness? So those are ideas and perhaps questions that we can have around this idea of a sphere of usefulness. So let's move to a new quotation now. And I will share the presentation so that you can have it later. But what I wanted to propose is that tonight we move through a number of quotations, and I'm sure that each one of you will find one or two that are particularly enticing and of interest to you. So you will be able to go back to these quotations when you want. But for now, I'm wondering if somebody could read this one aloud.
I can read that. A Baha'i is one who embodied all the perfections. He must shine out like a lighted taper, not be darkness upon darkness, and yet bear the name Baha'i.
I have a question. What does taper mean? A lighted taper?
It's a big candle, a large candle that you would find in a church typically.
Yes. Thank you.
Now that we have the opportunity to interrupt you, I just wanted you to know that your collaborators from Book 10 are here, and they are saying such wonderful things about you, Vahid Jan. I wanted you to know what's going on in the background.
Thank you so much. And yes, there's definitely at least one familiar face I'm seeing. So it's great to have her with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharnaz. So let's think about this idea of embodying all the perfections, which sounds like a lot of work, if I'm being honest, because it doesn't say, this quotation is a little bit strange. It could have said, you know, a Baha'i is one who embodies some of the perfections. And maybe, you know, we would have been fine with that. It could have said most of the perfections. So, you know, but here it says embodieth all the perfections. So perhaps first we should elucidate what can perfections mean in this quotation.
I wonder if our imperfections are our human nature, our lower nature, our tendency to fear and greed and anger.
That sounds right. So those would be the imperfections. And then the perfection then would be
our spiritual qualities, which are nascent, they're invested in us. Turn thy sight unto thyself, that thou mayest find me standing within thee. And you look at all the virtues named that we call on in the long healing prayer, they're all invested in us in potential. It's up to us to call on them and to engage them instead of the lower nature, engage the higher nature. It takes knowledge, volition, and action.
Fantastic. So this higher nature should drive us rather than our lower nature driving us. Awesome. So why would it be, I'm pretty sure this is Abdul Baha, why would Abdul Baha say that we should embody all the perfections and not some of them, or a few of them, or a nice selection of them?
Because all of the perfections are created in us, veiled in my immemorial being and in the ancient eternity. I knew my love and have engraved on thee mine image. So God is perfect, and his perfections are inherent in us. So it's just like in our body, ideally in the mother's womb, we developed all of our limbs and all of our organs and every bit of what it takes to have a full and complete and whole human body. So the same would be true for the soul.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And it takes a lot of work to do that, a lot of prayer.
A lot of action, a lot of knowledge, a lot of volition, the willingness, the determination, the commitment, the awareness in the moment of choice.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Okay, it looks like, yes, there's another comment.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that. And my comment is, if you try to embody one, you have embodied all, because the spiritual world is one.
Yes, so from the view or the perspective of oneness, they're not disconnected, they're all connected really, right? And we distinguish certain aspects by the way they express themselves, but they're all connected. This is great. So let's move on to another quotation, which again, I think you're very familiar with. So it should be very easy to read if we have a volunteer.
Can read it.
Please.
To be a Baha'i simply means to love all the world, to love humanity and try to serve it, to work for universal peace and the universal brotherhood.
And here again, this quotation, I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with, but when Abdul Baha says to love all the world and to love humanity and work for universal peace and universal brotherhood, isn't that like too many people? Do we really have the capacity to love that many people? How does that make sense? Can we love some and then, leave aside other subgroups?
If he says, Baha'u'llah says that, and then it's true, we can. It's up to us. It's our volition, our choice.
I like that word a lot. It's a choice we can make, right? Loving all humanity and embracing in the ideal of universal brotherhood is something that we can make a choice, a conscious choice about.
Right.
And of course, this transcends, and Abdul Wahab talks about this also, this idea of transcending the love for oneself, the love for one family, going beyond the love of one's city or one's country, and really achieving perhaps this state of consciousness where we accept all of humanity as worthy recipients of our love, is one way to put it. And of course, that doesn't mean that we won't be tested, but the idea that we can embrace all of humanity in our love is one ideal we try to work for. But then it's interesting to think, to contrast this quotation with the quotation on the sphere of usefulness. So perhaps some people are in a position where they can talk to all of humanity and all of humanity can hear them. But each one of us, perhaps we don't have this connection to all of humanity. So then how do we love how can we express our love for humanity, loving all the world?
I think it might go back to the first slide. I bear witness, oh my God, thou hast created me to know thee and to worship thee. If we can remember that God created everything and God is in everything, there's a sign, everything in creation, every human being, every leaf, every rock, every river, all are creation of God, and to look for God in those. And look for God in each other. Look for God in some quality of God, even one good quality. Look for that and connect with that and try to serve that.
Fantastic. So, and this is something, as you're saying, Sue, this is something that we can do immediately where we stand or where we're sitting. With anyone that we're engaging with, we can embrace them with our love for humanity. It's not always, at least for me, it's not always easy, and it's maybe not the first reaction we have, but this is what we aspire to. That's the level of love that we want to reach, right? And so again, we can see that as part of our purpose to express this love for God's creation, and to work towards this idea of universal brotherhood and universal peace. So let's move forward to another, perhaps more practical quotation. And again, this is one I think we're pretty familiar with. Any volunteer to read, please?
I can read.
Please.
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. All men have been created to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization.
Thank you. So this quote for me is very interesting because now we're moving to the more concrete, practical, and perhaps daily aspects of reflecting on the purpose of being human. We can, of course, we need to say prayers and express our worship, our loving connection with the Creator. But we also know that the Creator has instructed us to make things work on planet Earth. And one way to describe it is to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization. We have to implement those lofty ideals, embodying all the perfections in a practical world. And this is something that, of course, we can do daily. And we know that even our daily work, the work that we do for remuneration, is part of this ever-advancing civilization. We are participating in society in a way that hopefully will help the civilization move forward. And in the writings, we know that work is even made comparable to worship directly, right? So, and we know that sitting and saying prayers is very important, but we also know that having short, pure worship moments and being abundant in action is also what is desired for us. And so what are we trying to do in practice? The big picture is that we're trying to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization. So we do that through our education, we do that through our work, we do that through specific service activities, through the idea of community building and society building that has been put forward by the Universal House of Justice. We are trying to do these things because we are thinking of improving the civilization we live in. And so we make decisions, we are invited to make decisions about our lives, thinking about promoting a greater civilization. And of course, if we know the world, we are aware of the condition of the world we live in, the imperative, the need to move this civilization forward and to change and to transform becomes pretty obvious. I went on a long speech there, so perhaps it would be important for me to hear from your perspectives also. How can we make this quotation part of our daily lives?
Yes.
I think there's a quote that goes along with this that supports this, to say that to make our today better than our yesterday and our tomorrow better than today. That would contribute to an ever advancing civilization. And just keep doing better than we did, and not as good as we will.
And being conscious that things will change.
Yeah, we can always do. Like Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. You do the best you can with what you know. And when you know better, you do better. And there's where I bear witness. Oh my God, that was created me to know. We have that capacity to know.
Absolutely. Other thoughts about this quotation and how we can implement it, put it in our lives?
The importance of education, which starts in the home, the children, then the neighborhood, then the community, aside from the school. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we know education has been raised to being one of the key principles of the faith. That's how important this topic is. We know that parents have, I would say, an absolute responsibility to make sure that they provide education to their children. That's a responsibility that parents have. And education is definitely how we move civilization forward. If we think about the past 200 years, just one statistic is very interesting. It's estimated that around 1800, about 15% of humanity could read. And now we are at 85% of humanity being able to read. So we've inverted the percentage of people that can read versus people that can't read. Now it's only 15% of humanity that can't read. And of course, it's one of the vital goals of this ever-advancing civilization that we develop educational systems that will bring education to all of humanity, right? And we've already discussed the importance of spiritual qualities and having a spiritual life. So of course, as Baha'is, we are moving constantly to provide education to more people through practical activities of the community. And this is part of our community building efforts and society building efforts. We are trying to provide more and more education. And the Universal House of Justice goes as far as saying that this is a signature component of the Baha'i community, this provision of education. Xiao, please.
Oh, hi. Of course, education is very important. Knowledge is power. But I also think sometimes the wisdom comes from the purity of heart. When you have too much knowledge, when you are not connected with the wisdom, it's very confusing. You don't know where it's just overwhelming, like what we're having now, you know, on social media, news and everything. I think it's sort of grounded, center ourselves. So in that sense, meditation is really the key. You know, I recently tapped a little bit into Buddhism, the Heart Sutra study. You know, the number 6 Buddha in the Chinese chapter. He didn't read or write, but he has that kind of wisdom he understood. So he was selected and to be passing down the teaching. So, you know, for the world we are living right now, it's like in my own situation, I felt it's like too much going on. I wanted to reduce, I wanted to, you know, center myself, declutter in all ways, you know, material or thoughts, information, and go back to the writings of the messenger, you know, the essence. I love hidden words. You know, it's the mystical way, because I think every teaching they say, when we use words to describe, it's already reduce the meaning of, because then has a limit, they have a definition. You know, in the heart sutra of the Buddhism, it's the heart. The heart is the universe, the heart is the Buddha. In the Taoism teaching, the Tao is the way, the Tao is the heaven, you know. And also in the Baha'i teaching, we say God is the unknowable essence. You know, you cannot describe it, but we share the teaching, so we have to find a way to use the language. So that's my thought.
Yes, so then it's very interesting that you mentioned that. We have to then define what education can mean, right? And of course, intellectual education is highly valued, but we know that if we can combine intellectual education with spiritual education, then we have what is described as light upon light. So both have to be implemented. And of course, the Baha'i community has been focused mostly on spiritual education, but more and more as Baha'i communities grow, we see the need to participate in social action that might go beyond the limits of just spiritual education, and in some cases providing also other forms of education. So thank you very much for that comment. Fantastic. So let's move on to another quotation that I think is particularly interesting to bring about when we are having conversations with people that don't know about the faith, or maybe are not even interested about the faith, because in my experience, at least, this quotation opens the door to very interesting conversations. So please, if we could someone read this.
Can read.
Please.
And the honor and distinction of the individual consists in this, that he among all the world's multitudes should become a source of social good.
Fantastic. So again, this is probably something that a quotation that you're aware of. And of course, the big question here and the big topic of conversation with friends that we could have is, what does it mean to become a source of social good? What can it look like? What can it mean for an individual to become a source of social good? So perhaps if we have examples, feel free to share.
If we could take time out from our work and just do some Baha'i work with other and teach other people and show them ways that, or help them to take the Ruhi courses together to learn more about the spiritual life as well as the physical. No, this is to work together with other people, get them to know more of the Baha'i faith. That it just takes us onto a higher level.
Yes, that's definitely part of the path for the Baha'is to be a source of social good, is teaching the faith. Absolutely. Zhao, please.
Can I say something? I just recently I'm in contact with a group of Chinese friends, in the Bay Area, mostly ladies, are very spiritual seeking. They have a weekly book club study, and most of them came from a Buddhism background. Of course, they encounter some of the struggles in the Buddhism community. Some of the teachers, they don't walk the talk, or some, injustice. So they sort of away, but they are deep Buddhism, study 30 years or something. Because of my tiny bit of Buddhism study, first time in my life, like 2 months ago, somehow connect with them when I shared my learning about Hasitra, and they really embraced me. But I told them I'm a Baha'i, and so they invite me to share my artwork and share my thoughts of spirituality. And so I've been joining a few of these book clubs. And my feeling is, here we talk about individual, everyone has their story, has their background. As a Baha'i, of course, we know very clearly, we have this, the plan, the blue plan, we have, the writings, all this guidance in every part, every aspect. So I feel in order to teach better or share better, we need to listen. We need to listen to their story, understand them. We need to listen to their needs. Then I supply the writing. And I've had these ladies come over to my home for tea, and a tea can go for 4 hours. And only 4 people, we share our background, we share the story, they share their struggle. And then I select the writings short, like a 2-3 sentence, English and Chinese. I said, for the very least, you can learn English, and they always respond with rose, with clapping hands, and with a thumb up and prayer hand, and they love it. And then just 2 days ago, someone said, oh, maybe we shouldn't share those other religious writing in this spiritual group, because we try to identify not following with any specific religion, right? When I saw that, I knew she's talking about me, because my sharing have a Baha'u'llah, Abdul Baha. So I thought, okay, before I shut my mouth, I have one last push, right? So I drafted this short, I said, okay, I didn't know your rules, I'm new, right? But Baha'is, we are forbidden to, sort of like the pushing. So I shared a very basic concept of the Baha'i faith. And then, I didn't write anymore. But what surprised me, the lady who organized group, she spent a whole day research Baha'i faith. She shared the Wikipedia link, and then she used her own words. She said, I never heard of Baha'i faith before. And this is the first time, like 5 days ago. And she concluded, she said, this is such a wonderful faith. This is what they are teaching, And I couldn't believe my eyes, what I see. This is just so wonderful. I felt when we listen, we can use any opportunity to share. We can turn any obstacle. Sometimes we say, but we can use, make it become a teachable moment. And this has just happened like yesterday and the day before, last couple of days. So it's very fresh.
Very good.
Congratulations.
That's so wonderful to hear.
Absolutely. So I think this is a pretty clear example of how you can become a source of social good, even through chat with other people. There is a way to provide this great positive influence in others' lives. Awesome. So this quotation goes longer, but I think I'm going to skip it for now to leave some space for further consultation at the end. but I wanted to help us think about more practical ways, especially in terms of being responsible for our lives. Each one of us, what can we do to become better people, better persons? And so I thought this quotation is particularly useful, and it again comes from Secret of Divine Civilization, where it is defined what a good person is. So I wonder if somebody could read that aloud, please.
The happiness and greatness, the rank and station, the pleasure and peace of an individual have never consisted in his personal wealth, but rather in his excellent character, his high resolve, the breadth of his learning, and his ability to solve difficult problems.
So when I found this quote, I thought, well, at least here we have clear guidance on what a good person is, and a person that reaches happiness and greatness, has a valuable rank and station, and perhaps finds peace, right? And apparently it's not personal wealth or net income or net value, as we would use it in modern words. Here, there are 4 characteristics that are presented for a person that is of value to society, and perhaps of value in the eyes of God. So the first characteristic is having an excellent character. So we're going to have to think about what an excellent character could mean. And then one that's particularly hard for me is high resolve. What can high resolve mean, having a high resolve? Then the breadth of his learning, perhaps that's easier to think about. And then perhaps the way we apply the previous 3, an ability to solve difficult problems. And it looks like Mariam would like to comment on this. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Vahid. So one of the things that I have come to the conclusion of after many, many years of not having understood this is that I think, you know, when I get into a position at work, which I do very often, where I feel like there's absolutely no solution, and this is a very difficult problem and I cannot solve it, the ability to solve difficult problems, I think it culminates in your kind of submission to God and prayer, because there are going to be so many points where you're not going to be able to solve the problem, and you're going to have to come to the conclusion that the only person who can solve this problem is God, and the only way that you can open that channel between God and the problem is for you to pray. And I feel that's something that we need to, I'm sure this writing it infuses that's infused in this writing. It's kind of like a given, but I think that when people read this, they're like, ability to solve difficult problems, and everyone's like, oh my God, can we solve difficult problems? Like everyone's kind of like, and the reality is that we really can't solve the most difficult problems, and the most difficult problems can only be solved by our surrender to God and to prayer.
I love your comment, Mariam, because this connects us back to the very first quotation about why God created us. And he created us to know him and to worship him, to express a loving relationship with him, right? So that's a very interesting. And so perhaps one skill within the ability to solve difficult problems is to accept when our limitations are such that we acknowledge that this is as far as we go, and then something else, something superior to us has to come and take charge of the situation. And being able to acknowledge that would be, for me, a part of the skill set of the ability to solve difficult problems. Awesome. So other thoughts about, perhaps let's go one by one. What does an excellent character look like? I'm pretty sure we all know rough or let's say imperfect characters, but what would an excellent character look like?
Patience.
Patience, that would be one characteristic, absolutely.
Humbling.
Humility, yes.
Mm.
It doesn't come natural to everyone, but yes, being humble is very...
Yes.
Being a happy
Sorry?
person.
Be happy,
Happiness.
yes, absolutely. And we've seen that joy gives us wings, so we have to use that.
Truthfulness. Truthfulness,
Yeah.
honesty, and integrity.
Yeah, honestly.
Honesty, yes. And Baha'u'llah has some strong words about the importance of honesty. And it says that it's better to be a drunk person than being dishonest, right?
Dishonest, yes.
Steadfastness.
Steadfastness, which connects to the idea of a high resolve, I think, but I'm not sure. So perhaps let's think about what a high resolve means. What does having a high resolve mean? What do we think of when we think of people with high resolve?
I think of a strong will and determination to do the will of God.
Fantastic.
Commitment and perseverance come to my mind.
Yeah.
Resilient.
Resilient also, yeah.
Vision.
Having a clear vision definitely contributes to having a high resolve.
Strive that your actions day by day may be a beautiful prayer.
There you go. There's a striving and a struggling, so making efforts towards something that is higher or a higher purpose. Absolutely. And another thing perhaps is high resolve is the opposite of being easily distracted. How about that? So we don't get easily distracted by all the stimulus that we have around us.
Yes, Lord.
Focused.
So being focused, absolutely.
Yes. Firmness also.
Sorry?
Being firm.
Being fair?
Yes, being firm and committed.
Oh, being firm, absolutely, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So being steadfast, being firm, absolutely. Yeah. So we know what we are doing and we are conscious and working toward that. Awesome. So perhaps breadth of learning is something that is easier now to achieve than ever before. I wanted to propose this because we have so much knowledge and valuable knowledge that is available through the internet, in particular, through access to public libraries, through accessing institutions that provide education. It's easier now than it's ever been in the history of humanity, perhaps. And still, it's not completely equally accessible. Definitely, humanity still has to do a lot more to provide easier access for more people. But it's easier right now than it's ever been in history to access knowledge and to increase the breadth of our learning. Any perhaps one or two comments on this idea of the breadth of our learning? Does it mean that we all have to become PhDs, for example?
No.
Probably not, right? Maybe it helps,
Yes.
but maybe it doesn't. There are many forms of knowledge and we should benefit from all. But we should definitely be increasing our learning. I think that's what this quote points to. We shouldn't be, sit down and think, do I know the same amount of things that I did 10 years ago? That would not that would not be in an agreement with this quotation. We should try to increase our knowledge all the time, right? And that doesn't need a formal degree, but definitely we're making efforts. Maybe it's something we're reading, a documentary we're watching, things we're listening to that are increasing the breadth of our learning. And we've discussed, yeah, please.
Or activity.
It's through an activity we acquire the experience, and that we can turn that into knowledge.
Exactly.
Absolutely, we're
Yes.
learning. Totally. Excellent. So the ability to solve difficult problems, we've already shared a bit about this. I don't know if other thoughts come to mind regarding this.
Consultation.
Consultation, yes. How do we achieve the maturity of our understanding? It's through consultation. So we should definitely be becoming more and more capable of greater consultation, right? And as Sharzad will tell you, when you study Book 10, especially the second unit of Book 10, our understanding of consultation and perhaps our ability to participate in consultation can increase. Awesome. So with that, perhaps we'll have one closing quotation. I wanted to mention that one tool that the House has given, the Universal House of Justice has given us to think about and plan for increasing our capability to learn is those arcs cycles. This idea that we take action, then we reflect on our action, then we consult with others, we study the guidance. This continuous cycle will help us solve more and more problems as a community, right? So this is something that can be helpful for us to think about. Taking action in our service to community, reflecting on what we're doing, and consulting with others, and then hopefully we can study further guidance, which will help us channel further actions. So this is one method of continuously engaging in this process of bettering ourselves. Okay. And then perhaps the final quotation for tonight, before we go too long, is this one. Do we have a volunteer that could read it, please?
I can read. The purpose to which mortal men have from utter nothingness stepped into the realm of being is that they may work for the betterment of the world and live together in concord and harmony.
Thank you. So those are themes we have already explored, right? It's kind of a summary of what we've been discussing this far. I thought that it's interesting that if one way to look at this quotation is that the purpose for which mortal men have from utter nothingness stepped into the realm of being is to live together in concord and harmony. And for all of us that might have daily difficulties with people around us, how come this writing says that the purpose for which we were created or we were brought into the realm of being is to live together in concord and harmony? How about that?
Beautiful.
Long suffering, endurance, detachment, patience, understanding, love, humility, all that are needed daily.
Absolutely. Another word also is forbearance that you see from time to time in the writings.
Yes.
Yes.
Vahid John, somebody asked you to explain about ARCS, A-R-C-S, please.
Oh, sure. So the house in the past 10 years, maybe 15 years, has mentioned in different ways this cycle through which a community can work through. So perhaps if you are collaborating with a group of friends around creating a children's class or a junior youth group or some other kind of community building activities, the Universal House of Justice has invited us to consider going through these cycles so that we can perfect and improve the way we are serving others. So, of course, taking action is essential. If we don't take action, we will never learn much. We can learn about all the theory, but we need to take action to see if the theory is really practical. But then if we only take action and we don't take time to step out and reflect on the action, maybe the impact of our action will be limited. So that's something that we need to add. Taking action every day is very good, is great. But if we want to improve, we need to be able to reflect on our action. And then the House has said that consultation, of course, is necessary, and we know from the Baha'i writings that we should have consultation in all things, all matters. So especially if we're thinking about serving others and working together with others, consultation is an essential tool. And of course, we want to enrich our thinking and improve the way we look at reality through study. So study of the Holy Writings, study of the guidance from the Baha'i World Center are things that help us improve our action also, because we can benefit from the wisdom of what others have learned around the world, and then from the guidance of what the House stipulates for the particular times we are going through. So this is mentioned. If you look for this particular combination of consultation, study, action, reflection, so that would be the CSAR, but I like to abbreviate it as ARCs. That you can find this combination of steps as something that will improve our community building efforts and eventually our society building efforts. I hope that clarifies it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. So with that, perhaps we can close the formal presentation part. And it's a good time if we have perhaps more comments or more quotations or things to share. It's a great time to share those. If we have had any reflections, if we have had thoughts on some particular quotations that were attractive to us, please do share.
Before I let Quanta start, Quanta, wait. I just wanted to read a few things from what the friends wrote for you. Leslie says, ARCS is like rainbow and reminds me of the covenant with God. And Mr. Perimal wrote, good presentation, big matters made simple. Thank you so much. Please come again for another presentation. Galaxy TABA, that I don't know if he's still here or not, wrote, thank you so much, Sir Masrour and Furuz, for this participatory fireside. Allahu Akbar. So I wanted you to know what's going on in the background. Quanta, please go ahead.
Thank you, Furuz. One thing that I found very fruitful is being in touch with so many organizations, because that's where we can also practice our own spirituality by being patient and understanding, because man does not grow spiritual, when isolated from others. So I found that there are so many organizations right now that are sources of social good. But I also found that when I am working with them, I'm able to share so many things from the writings that is pertinent to what they're doing or their discussion. And they really do appreciate it. And my efforts are mostly in environmental problems and racial issues and peace and disarmament. And those organizations truly are very, very much in line with the Baha'i teachings. But sometimes when you share something with them, it really helps them in their consultation of what to do. So I recommend to everybody to get in touch with your local or even national organizations, even international. I'm a Rotarian. So the Rotary is pretty much international. And then through them, I get involved with the other organizations as well. So I truly recommend that you get in touch with some of those people who really need help. And then it also helps me to grow spiritually with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Quentin. Yes, I think this idea that people are already doing, sources of social good is a great starting point to find a common ground for a conversation. So it's exactly as you're saying it. If we can find those people that are already engaged in social good, then the conversation will probably become a lot easier with them. Please, more comments, thoughts, ideas that came to mind, perhaps favorite quotations from tonight's elections or others that are relevant.
What a wonderful cousin I've had, and I didn't know it. Shame on me, Vahid John. Shame on me.
No comments there.
You know, friends, to have family only because I almost live without a blood family where I'm living other than Mariam, but having family around has an absolutely different taste to it. And I think the Baha'i community has given that to the friends to feel at home with the family. So although I hardly see Vahid, but I'm proud to be in Oakville and be amongst the friends who have been my family here.
And the privilege is mutual, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Vahid John, if there's no question, we will go to the Gibi, bonsoir. You know, Vahid's mother is French. Vahid, say something to my French sister Gibi.
Avec plaisir. Bonsoir et bienvenue. Enchanté de vous faire votre connaissance.
Bonsoir. No, Feroz, if he's your cousin, what is he to me if I'm your sister?
He's my second cousin, so he would be your second cousin too.
There.
Pretty sure it's second nephew in this case, but yeah, that works.
If there's no more comments, I mean, you're more than welcome. We can start our devotional. Whoever has time to stay with us, we will have our devotional till 9 o'clock, and we will say prayers. Tonight's prayers is for Vahid's grandfather, Mr. Mansour Masrour, who was the first pioneer who left Iran in 1951 and brought so much blessing to us all as a family. I'm glad that we are mentioning his name, and particularly in such a beautiful evening of the declaration of the Bab. Vahid John, would it be possible for me to ask you to start the prayer, probably in either Spanish or French or whatever? Gibi, are you available for other prayers? Friends, feel free to join us for prayers.
Okay.
Go ahead, Vahid John.
Ô mon Seigneur, permets à ceux qui montent vers toi de trouver refuge en toi qui est le compagnon suprême. Accorde-leur de séjourner à l'ombre du tabernacle de ta majesté et du sanctuaire de ta gloire. Ô mon Seigneur, de l'océan de ta clémence, répands sur eux ce qui les rendra dignes de résider aussi longtemps que durera ta souveraineté dans ton royaume d'en haut, dans ton empire céleste. Tu as le pouvoir de faire ce qu'il te plaît.
May I chant a short obligatory prayer?
Please, Gibby, then you're after her. Please go ahead.
I bear witness, oh my God, that thou hast created me to know thee and to worship thee. I testify at this moment to my powerlessness and to thy might, to my poverty and to thy wealth. There is none other God but thee, the help in peril, the self-subsisting.
O God, refresh and gladden my spirit, purify my heart, illumine my powers. I lay all my affairs in thy hand. Thou art my guide and my refuge. I will no longer be sorrowful and grieved. I will be a happy and joyful being. O God, I will no longer be full of anxiety, nor will I let trouble harass me. I will not dwell on the unpleasant things of life. O God, thou art more friend to me than I am to myself. I dedicate myself to thee, O Lord. Abdul Baha. Thank you.
I want to say a prayer in Spanish of healing. Tu nombre es mi curación, oh mi Dios, y el recuerdo de ti es mi remedio. La proximidad a ti es mi esperanza y el amor por ti es mi compañero. Tu misericordia hacia mí es mi curación y mi socorro, tanto en este mundo como en el venidero. Tú verdaderamente eres el todo generoso, el que todo lo sabe, el todo sabio. Baha'u'llah.
Oh my God, the God of bounty and mercy, thou art that King by whose commanding word the whole creation had been called into being, and thou art that all bountiful one, the doing of whose servants have never hindered him from showing forth his grace, nor have they frustrated the revolution of his bounty. Suffer the servant, I beseech thee, to attain who that which is the cause of his salvation in every word of the words. Thou art verily the Almighty, the most powerful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Baha'u'llah.
I will say a prayer in Chinese for humanity. 怀有人心的主啊，您是博施全能的，我们是您天佑地父下的仆人，以您仁惠的目光看顾我等，使我们的眼睛明亮，听觉敏锐， 并使我们内心充满体谅仁爱。因您的福音使我们灵魂畅快。主啊，指引我们进入您天国之路。因您圣灵的气息使我们苏醒，赐予我们永恒的生命与无尽的荣耀，团结人类，启发世人，使我们遵循您的道路，祈求您的喜悦，并寻觅您天国的奥秘。上帝啊，以您不朽的誓言来使众生紧密团结。诚然，您是博施济众者、慈善者、全能者。阿布比巴。
Rely upon God, trust in Him, praise Him and call Him continually to Him. He very turn a trust into ease, sorrow into solace, and toil into utter peace. He verily had dominion over all things. He verily had dominion over things. When upon Dios confía en Él, alabar y recuérdale continuamente. Él en verdad truca la dificultad en tranquilidad. Él la desgracia en consuelo, el trabajo en completa paz. He very had dominion over all things. He verily had dominion over things. Abdul Baha.
Wanta, can we hear another Turkish prayer, please?
Sorry, I had to. I had it open. Now I'm okay. Now I'm ready. Thank you for asking. Ey kulum, Allah'a yakın olanlar onun ayetlerini güzel bir makamla nasıl okursa, aldığın ayetleri sen de öyle oku. Oku ki sesindeki tatlılık hem senin ruhunu tutuştursun, hem de kalpleri cezbetsin. Her kim odasında yalnızken Allah'ın ayetlerini güzel bir makam ile okursa, yayıcı melekler onun ağzından çıkan kelimeleri güzel bir koku gibi etrafa yayar ve temiz yürekleri heyecana getirir. Böyle bir kimse ilk önce bunun etkisini fark etmeyebilir. Fakat kendisine lütfedilen inayetin tesiri er geç ruhu üzerinde görülür. Allah'ın zuhurunun sırları, kudret ve hikmet kaynağı olan kimsenin iradesiyle işte böyle açıklandı. Hazreti Bahá'u'lláh
With your permission, I'll say a prayer for my uncle, for everyone's parents, for all the pioneers who sacrificed everything in order to go forward and press onward the same way that Abdul Baha mentioned. O God, my God, I implore thee by the blood of thy true lovers, who were so enraptured by thy sweet utterance, that they hastened unto the pinnacle of glory, the sight of the most glorious martyrdom. And I beseech thee, by the mysteries which lie enshrined in thy knowledge, and by thy pearls that are treasured in the ocean of thy bounty, to grant forgiveness unto us and unto our fathers and mothers, of those who show forth mercy. Thou art in truth the most merciful. No God is there but thee, the ever forgiving, the all bountiful. Friends, I cannot thank you enough for coming tonight and creating this warm and loving environment. I would like to thank Vahid Aziz for being here tonight and for sharing such wonderful insight with us. Vahid knows that this will not his first and last, because we will be asking him to join us again. Vahid John, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Dr. Etemad, thank you for being here. Pina John, thank you. Tahira Khanum, thank you. Patricia, Kwanta Azizam, Farida Ju, Dr. Etemad Aziz, thank you for being here. Oh, Mr. Liu. So why don't you finish the tonight with a Malay prayer? I didn't see you. I apologize.
No. We are too happy for you.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful presentation. Thank you. That was so nice. Thank you for all of your help and everything.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Wahid.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Wahid.
Wonderful talk.
Wonderful presentation.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to share with you. And thank you, Farouz, for inviting me.
It means we love you. All of that. If you want to condense it in one word or two words, it is we love you, Vahid John.
I agree with that.
The feeling is mutual, absolutely. I love you all.
Yeah. Thank you, Farouz John, from you too. That bring all of us together. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Love you all. Gibi, bonsoir. Pina John, thank you. Sanita John, thank you. Oh, Miss Shaw, you just recited prayers that took us to the next world and back. Thank you. Patricia, thank you so much. And Nason John, thank you. You didn't say anything today. Sima Khanum, thank you. Simin John, I'm saying all the names so you know that you matter. Thank you, Tahir Khanum. Love you all. Laura John, thank you. Much love. I will stay behind to copy the chat. So in case, thank you, Mr. Liu. Appreciate it. Thank you. So see you next week.
Yes.
Allah
Okay, beautiful.
It was wonderful to see you, Farhajan. That was lovely. Thank you.
It was wonderful to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Omide Didar.
Omide Didar. Much love. Thank you. Oh, Tara, you are a little too late. I wish you were here 5 minutes before so you could have said a prayer. Tara, what can I say?
It's okay. Next time. I love her. Okay, next time.
Next time. Okay, well, and Vahid Tara has a mesmerizing voice. And I'm sorry we missed it. Tara John, see you next time.
For sure.
Take care, everyone. Good night. Vahid thank you again. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure and pleased to meet you, and pleased to meet you all. And thank you, Farouz, again for inviting me. It's a great opportunity for me to be able to share these quotations and reflect on them together.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Aloha. Bye-bye.
Aloha.